Rick, it's wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No worries.
So let's begin our journey into your esteemed career by asking you this. 5 years ago, this pandemic changed our lives, our worlds, so many things. How did you get through that era, and how has it affected the way that you live and do business in 2025?
Whew. Big question.
Yeah.
Huge. All right. How did it change things? Or how do I get through it? I guess we just had to survive it. I mean, I experienced the pandemic in Vietnam. I was in Vietnam at the time. It was challenging times personally and challenging times for the company. I'll just give you a little bit of personal context first. Um, just before the lockdown in Vietnam, which is around what, March, April, whenever it was,
Yeah.
my wife had been medevaced, okay, to Singapore, and then they shut the country. Okay, it took me 9 months to get her back through multiple countries. So that was one issue. The other issue was my daughter was studying. She was at university in the UK, and she holds a Swiss passport. And they closed the university because of the pandemic. And she had to go home, except she couldn't. Home was in Vietnam and you can't get in. So she ended up camping out by accident with a friend of hers for 6 months. I did manage to get her to reunite with my wife who was in Switzerland, and then I managed to get them both back to Vietnam eventually. And at the same time, my son was doing his he did his first year of university in from his bedroom. So that was the personal backdrop.
Yeah.
Vietnam was quite tough in that they literally, you weren't allowed to leave your apartment unless you had a permit, okay, which allowed us to go out a couple of times during a week. So that's the personal backdrop. So what does that mean for the company? Well, although before the pandemic, we did have you can work from anywhere, and we did have people scattered around the world and always have done. But it was a little bit different when you really couldn't go into the office and you had no choice. And we had to make some rapid decisions on how we were going to do things, how we are going to communicate, how we were going to keep things ticking. And so being a tech company, we were fortunate, and we had video conferencing and all sorts of things like that, which are all pretty much normal stuff today. But back then, it's like, whoa. Okay, so we did that. I think the main challenge is that our model was, when we're deploying a solution to a customer, it was normal for us to jump on a plane and fly to the customer and go into their office and do the stuff that we need to do. Except that was a bit hard when you couldn't get on planes and planes weren't flying between countries. It caused a bit of an issue. Um, and it did cause us to, and the customers agreed because they saw no other way of doing it, to start doing things remotely. Okay. And because of that, customers realized something, and today it's just the normal way of doing it. I think what they realized is number one, it can be done remotely. I mean, it could always have been done remotely, but there were always reasons why you want a physical body to sit in your office and sit in that conference room and train us and show us how to do stuff. But having experienced the pandemic and even the customers getting used to they can't go into their own offices either, we all were forced to do things remotely. So that's pretty normal. One upside to this that customers have realized is number one, you don't have to fly people around the world, so it's a cost saving.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing. And number two, and this really depends if you've got a hard-nosed, senior team or a hard-nosed CFO or something, is, ooh, we can do online training and maybe our employees can do that in their own time.
Yeah,
And we're all used to that now, aren't we? Teaching ourselves stuff, having to learn stuff outside of office hours is sort of come quite commonplace. So it really has changed the deployment of solutions, and of course, it's also pushed the move to cloud.
yeah,
So there's still a few laggards who are quite happy they want, their machine in their back room or whatever, and they have their IT team, control it all. Um, but my general feeling is for a lot of companies, yeah, if there's a big internal IT team, if there's a big internal IT infrastructure, if some of the leaders there are a little bit older, yeah, they're going to be a little bit. I find that I get more resistance from them to move to cloud
yeah,
and give that all up and hand it over to someone else
yeah.
than the smaller, more, shall I say, more agile companies. But that is a bit of a generalization. It's not necessarily the rule.
Sure.
So things have changed.
Yeah, for sure they have. So let me ask you this. There's so many titles that you hold, but if we were to boil
Mm.
down what you do on a daily basis, I'm going to put you in a school in front of 12-year-olds. It's career day, and the kid in the middle of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Yeah, I try to do as little as possible, actually. Because most of the businesses I operate in, I am one of the owners or the owner. And it actually has taken me a long time and a lot of advice from people far more intelligent than me who says, Rick, you shouldn't be working in the business, you should be working on the business. So what that means is that I need to delegate more. I need to let go. I need to make sure I have employed and I'm surrounded by some great people who can do everything, and I'm not really needed anymore on a day-to-day basis on day-to-day things. So again, I'm speaking to a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's a bit
Yeah,
like your school. Yeah, you have teachers and they teach you different subjects and you love them. That's wonderful. So that's the management team. That's what they do. But above them, you also have a headmaster. I'm a bit like the headmaster, but I'm a nice headmaster.
yeah,
I try and have to look after that senior leadership team. I have to make sure you are getting what you need in your education and you are growing. So it's the same in an organization. I'm more on the strategy side and making sure that our strategy is going in the right direction. So we are driving the sustainability that we are looking for. I'm not one of those people like, hey, we need growth. You can't have unlimited growth forever. I'm more embracing the Japanese concept of shinais, which are these companies that are literally lasting for hundreds of years. Now, how do they do that? Does it mean they're growing everything, growing every year? No, they're not. They are sustainable. So they're growing enough to sustain themselves. And knowledge is passed on from generation to generation. And just like in a company, we need to pass that knowledge on from generation to generation. In a lot of companies, we got what, three, four, five generations in an organization. I'm a baby boomer, so I'm the oldest generation in my current organizations. But the youngest folks, they're Generation Z, and within the next probably year and a half, they will consist of more than 50% of the workforce. Um, and then after that, wind forward a few more years, and we're going to have the Generation Alphas coming in. So it is about how do we pass on all that knowledge
yeah,
to the younger folks, the people who are growing, who are coming up in the ranks, as it were, and make sure it's retained within the organization, and the organization is going in the same direction, as in we're all in alignment. So that's really what my days are all about, tinkering around with that and jumping in when I think I need to jump in. But as much as possible, be hands off and let those experts get on with it.
What did you want to be when you were 12 years old? What was your dream job?
Ooh, that's a good question. 12 years, that's a long time to remember. I don't really recall, to tell the truth. I really don't. I would never imagine myself to be what I am.
Yeah,
Okay, and it wasn't until I was in my first job after school that I suddenly decided I wanted to become an accountant.
yeah. So where did all of these these genes, so to speak, of being successful, of being in business, of traversing these different industries and now coaching and helping people, where did all of this begin for you? How did these seeds get sown and grow into this career and life you have now?
Another great question. It's a bit like late Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking
Yeah.
backwards. And some say, and even actually a guy some years ago who rewrote my CV for me says, you've had a very eclectic past, which is a very, very nice way of saying I've been all over the place. Uh, um, but looking backwards, I actually can connect the dots. Um, so I think the entrepreneurialism came from my father,
Yeah.
who was an entrepreneur in his own right, doing all sorts of things. So I think that's where it came from. The I think the achievement thing really came from the upbringing from school. Because again, I'm a baby boomer, and you could say the indoctrination is you've got to work hard, you've got to study hard, you've got to get good grades, and then you'll do well. But it's all about hard work. Okay. And so I've always applied myself and put in the hours and put in the work. Um, and the success thing, achieving things, I didn't actually notice most of it until some years ago when it was pointed out by one of my coaches that I am a sort of a hyperachiever. And I just said, no, I'm not. I haven't achieved very much.
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
It's not important.
So who's been your hero? Who's been your inspiration that's allowed you to become who you are, to be continually motivated and successful?
So there's no individual, there's no hero I've been following. I've had no specific mentor. However, I I was told by my late stepfather. He said, and this is when I was younger, probably in my teens, son, as it were, you will have many things in life. You will have maybe cars and possessions and houses, but they will wear out and you will replace them or you will move. You may have wives as well, but you may also move on from them. You maybe even have kids, but they grow up and move away. It says the only thing that you have that is yours and that will stay with you for life is your career. Okay. And so the indoctrination was is work hard and achieve something. So I just worked hard. That was it. But it did turn me into this hyperachiever, I suppose. And on reflection, I decided some years ago, actually, when I did my TEDx talk a couple of years back, I realized that this focus on achieving is not very sensible because I wasn't happy. And you mentioned before I'm a coach. I am a coach. And funny enough, I tend to coach a lot of hyperachievers as well. And guess what? Not many of them are happy.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't even know why we're achieving. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't matter what the reason is, but no one seems to be happy about it. So I said, that's wrong. There's something wrong about that. So I don't push people to achieve. I don't say that's the right thing to do. The thing that I talk about these days is balance. And I think you need a balance in your life and what you do. And I'm not talking work-life balance. It's not a binary choice. It's really related to the book that I wrote during the pandemic. So that's also what I did during the pandemic. Go write a book, which was this business as unusual book. Um, and we have a metaphor of a castle in there, and the castle has multiple buildings, and each building represents a different facet of your life. And when I say balance, it's imagine you are the architect and you are architecting your life, you're architecting your own castle. So you have to build it in a balanced way. You know, there's supposed to be a certain number of buildings. You can't build one and forget about the others. All right, it's like just like building a house. If you're building a house, you can't just have a roof and nothing else.
Yeah.
There needs to be a balance, and so life is all about, to me, success is all about achieving that balance, because I believe that when we are in balance, we feel good. And when we're not in balance, we feel a little bit off. And we're not in balance, we're not as happy. So it's really trying to find that happy balance, whatever that is for an individual, because it's different for each one of us, because we're all unique. So it will be different.
How have you found that happy balance, that Libratic scale, so to speak? How have you gotten to that point where you feel that way?
The things that have emerged, again, it's as a result of the pandemic, is something emerged that was never an issue before. And I don't know what the problem was. The issue is health. Because touch wood, prior to the pandemic, literally never been sick. I haven't broken a bone in my body. I've hardly ever been to hospital. I just don't get sick. Okay. Until the pandemic came along, and then I got really sick. And I actually ended up getting long COVID. So my sense of smell is gone, my sense of taste is gone. It hasn't come back fully either. And my ability to work got a little bit thrown out the window because I couldn't think straight. I had that permanent brain fog, and all I wanted to do was sleep. And again, prior to the pandemic, I'm a workaholic. I work 80 to 100 hours a week. Like, what's the problem? I don't need this thing called sleep. Then all of a sudden, like, you got to sleep. I actually really need sleep. So that hit me. Again, prior to the pandemic, I could get up and run 10Ks and hardly break a sweat, even though it's 30 degrees out there. Now, I'm going to break a sweat running 10 or 20 paces across a room. I don't run anymore. I haven't run for about 4 or 5 years. So health became my number one because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not healthy enough to even work. How can I look after the company? How can I look after the family? How can I do anything?
Yeah.
So that became my number one priority. Whereas before it wasn't even on the cards. It wasn't even on the board to look at. So that was one thing. And to do that, it means I had to change what I did with my time. And my time was all work, 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 work. And then I asked myself, what's the point? I'm literally working myself to death. And if I'm not physically capable of working anymore, I can't work. So I had to change that whole dynamic
Yeah.
and find out, all right, I know what tires me out. I know what's tiring my body out at the moment. How do I recharge my body? How do I get healthy again? So it's been a very, very, very long journey to uncover that. Because again, if you go back to the book, um, I talk about the Tower of Life force. That's that spark in you that keeps you alive. And we talk about our herbs, our health, our energy, our rest, our balance, and our stress. So there are lots of elements there. So I was thinking like, what do I eat? How much do I sleep? How well do I sleep? When do I sleep? When do I work? And how do I recharge all the different batteries in me?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's taken me years to work that out. I've worked all that out. Okay. I am able to recharge myself. I feel much more grounded and balanced now. And yeah, I can still work. As I said, I'm a baby boomer, but I'm not retiring yet. Try that 35 years ago, and that failed. Um, and yeah, I'm still going on. I have the energy to do it now. I have the energy to do it.
So, with everything that you've accomplished and become in your career and your life, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm. Okay. I have to be proud about some of the companies that I set up, especially the main one, TRG. It's like my baby, as it were. I and it's still running. It's been running 31 years, 32 years or something. It's still chugging along, and I'm setting it up to keep on chugging along whether I'm there or not, which I think is a great achievement. Um, yeah. The other thing that I feel I'm um, is a great achievement is I have two kids. Um, they both seem to be healthy. They both seem to be happy. They're both employed. Yeah. So tick, done that as well. Um, and I think for myself, I I have learned, despite being um, a converted workaholic, I have learned how to say no.
Yeah.
Because it's only by saying no that I can actually balance time well and not overcommit, and say no and not feel bad about saying no.
Yeah.
Saying no because that's the right thing to say. Um, and I guess I'm the stage where I am balancing what I do. Um, I I think I'm getting more successful in ensuring whatever I focus my main energies in is in support of either the company, it's furthering the company and supporting and strengthening the company, or it tends to be linked to content generation that I can share out there and is of benefit to others. Or finally, it's something I actually do for myself, which helps me relax, recharge, and yeah, just enjoy life.
So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you: family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that works for you, everyone you know that you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I still think people see me as a bit of a hyper achiever, a person who can't sit still and just isn't slowing down. Um, I personally would like to change that perception because I wouldn't want people to try and mimic that because that could drive them into the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, don't follow me, don't copy me. I think the people, because of the content I produce and the way I think I'm perceived to help people. They see me as, open and helpful and with knowledge to share. And as the years go by, yeah, they see me as this older person now. So I really can't get away saying I'm still young.
Yeah.
I failed that.
Speaking of the wisdom to share, if anyone wants to reach out, they have questions, they want to hire you, they want to get your books, they want to look into more of what you're doing, where's the best place to go?
Best place to go is the internet. Just Google my name, Rick Ivanovich.
Okay.
Okay, and see what happens. Given I'm the only person on the planet with this name, it will lead you to me.
I love it.
And one of the best places is either if you like social media, it will be on LinkedIn. Again, it's my name, or my own website, which, funny enough, is my name.
I love it. I will put that in the show notes. Rick, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you, sir, for your time. Best of luck, continued success.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Been wonderful. Thank you.